Okay, so are we watching Blizzard heal in real time? Because Blizzard's president just hinted at something we haven't seen in a long time. A reliable release cadence. 1 to 2 major launches every single year. 2026 is already stacked with WoW Midnight and Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred, but what are we getting in 2027? When are they going to reveal it? And could it be related to Diablo 4's 30th anniversary? Plus, Diablo 4 is doing the impossible. It didn't just bring people back for Paladin, it's keeping them. Yeah, Paladin brought people back, but Sanctification, Divine Gifts, and the endgame loop are what's keeping people hooked. So let's break down what's working, what's still annoying, and what Blizzard needs to nail next. We'll also talk about the latest in PoE 2, No Rest for the Wicked, Time Quest 2, and Grim Dawn. Hey folks, this is Riker, and I dig into ARPG and gaming news so that you can spend more time playing games. Chapters below to skip ahead to different topics. And as a final reminder, folks, you have until the end of December 31st, to get your name on the Rikers Raiders 2025 t-shirt. Even a $1 pledge at patreon.com/Riker gets your name on the design. Starting off with Diablo, comments made by Blizzard President Johanna Faris seem to suggest that Blizzard is gearing up for an unprecedented level of output. In an interview with Bloomberg, she said, quote, "I believe our best days are ahead of us. I really truly believe that. I also believe that we are in a position to think about delivering reliable cadences of launches. Our fans are hungry. They want to get involved. They want to feel reliability as well. They want us to have a sense of what's right around the corner. Let's look at it as a portfolio, and let's make sure that every, let's say, calendar year, there are at least 1 to 2 really big things that Blizzard is pumping out. And if we can configure our slate accordingly, which we believe we have done, we'll be able to stay top of mind, leveraging the multi-franchise opportunities that we have." She later added, quote, "I believe if you were to ask really any head of franchise right now, or teams on the franchises, hey, do you know where this is going to be 3 years from now? They do. And I think we're pretty excited." So 1 to 2 major things per calendar year. 2026 is starting off hot with World of Warcraft Midnight launching on March 2nd, and then Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred on April 28th. Maybe those are the only 2 things releasing this year, but what will be the 1 to 2 things for 2027? Since they have to be revealed this year, and likely to be revealed at BlizzCon in September. They would save any major announcement for that. And again, this year is the 30th anniversary of the Diablo franchise. So she's been putting a big focus on the existing franchises Blizzard has. She's done that in past interviews as well now on multi-year content rollout plans. She's even made comments suggesting a focus on the entertainment part of Blizzard Entertainment. In other words, it's not just about video games. I don't know, gang. Is Blizzard finally healing from the influences of Bobby Kotick? And is it on the verge of a comeback? I hear things have been going pretty good with World of Warcraft. Overwatch seems to be settling into a good place. There's rumors stirring of maybe something StarCraft to be revealed at BlizzCon. And even Diablo 4 is in a good place now with this latest season that's about 2 weeks old. And with the reveal of the expansion coming in spring. Season 11 of Diablo 4 has been quite the turnaround. And most of the lingering criticisms of the game will be addressed in Lord of Hatred. And speaking of the expansion, people continue to speculate on what the second class will be. Paladin is one, and the other one is a mystery until launch. Well, we're getting it at launch. We don't know if it'll be a mystery until launch. We'll probably find out before launch. But, you know, we've, in past videos, gone over the various theories a couple times now, so we're not going to rehash that yet again. Check out those past videos for all the various theories, but a new piece of evidence to consider here. When you buy the Ultimate Edition of Lord of Hatred, you unlock this transmog set of gear that is half angelic and half demonic. And that really ties into the whole Lilith and Inarius theme, right? The new lore they added is with Skovos being the home of the first civilization of Nephilim, the children of Lilith and Inarius, so they got all those giant Lilith and Inarius statues there. So this kind of reinforces the idea that we're getting one class that represents the angel side, the paladins who worship the light, and maybe the second class will represent the demonic side. This strengthens the whole warlock theory as some kind of a demonic caster or demon summoner. in past interviews about the Spiritborn, they had said that they, for the Spiritborn and the new region Nahantu, they were intimately tied together, and they wanted to, going forward, use that same technique with future classes, that the class would be thematically tied to the new region. Now, some people are pointing to this old class icon as a possible hint at the Warlock, but no, this was just the old Sorceress icon. They replaced it with this. This is the new one, but there was a time early on the official website that this was just the official Sorceress icon. So nothing to see here, nothing to read in the tea leaves. But let's talk more about Season 11 and the current state of Diablo 4. So many people have come back to the game because of the Paladin. And it begs the question, was it a mistake for Diablo 4 to launch without this class? Not only is Sword and Board such a strong fantasy and playstyle that speaks to so many people who play fantasy games, and therefore having no class that really captures this, and the Necromancer doesn't count, it left a bunch of potential customers behind. But also, one could argue that the Paladin is perhaps a class that makes the most sense to include in a game about fighting literal demons from hell. Now, I'm not going to get into the lore here. There can be strong lore reasons to exclude Paladins, but when you're making a product designed to appeal to customers, you're going to find a lore solution to any problems that arise in order to make customers happy. And there's a reason that since release of D4, every single campfire chat has had the same question repeated over and over: when are we getting a Paladin? There's a reason this class has been requested so much more than any other. And now that it has arrived, it is so abundantly clear how big the demand was for the Paladin and the need for the Paladin in the game. So, would Diablo 4 have been better off launching with the Paladin? Well, I would actually hazard that the answer is no. I think getting the Paladin today is what has allowed the Paladin to be the best class in the game. I think giving the team the time to design the Spiritborn, the time to redo Diablo 4 almost entirely at this point, has allowed them to create the Paladin with the knowledge and the experience of all the changes and evolution the game has gone through. When the Spiritborn launched a year ago, it was clearly the best designed class. Now, the same holds true for the Paladin. It has surpassed the Spiritborn even. And I think it would be great if we can now revisit the existing classes and bring their designs up to par, because the bar has been lifted. It's tough to go back and play the other classes now, and not just because Paladin is currently overpowered. It's just, it was much more interesting to theory craft Paladin builds with their class mechanic, and the gameplay is so tight. Like, I made a Barbarian after my Paladin, and the Barbarian's technique system is so antiquated at this point. It barely has a class mechanic at all, and it's just a tiny bit of tedium to have to level up technique skills. It was a cool idea, in theory. I could imagine a game in which that system worked. When the game was slower, the more you use these different weapon types, you're getting better at using these weapons. Your expertise is improving, and so you benefit more from the techniques. But what do you do in 2025? You just go to the training grounds, hit the training dummy with each weapon type until you've maxed them out. It doesn't make sense in the current state of the game. There's nothing interesting left about it. It's just a little bit of tedium. Oh, and speaking of the training grounds, can we get a DPS meter there? It's great that we have the training grounds, great addition to the game. It's great for comparing your kind of average hits and the biggest damage spikes you're seeing, but without getting some kind of like a 10-second average or a total damage dealt, it's really tough to fine-tune your build and tell, is this actually more damage? Is it less damage? Yeah, maybe I'm getting higher, crits, but is my regular hit actually, coming out to be more over time? Now, as great as the Paladin is, and it's pretty damn great, people may have returned for the Paladin, but they stayed for Season 11. Without a robust season behind it, the Paladin would have just been a flash in the pan. People would have quickly started to complain about the game being same old, same old. But they're not. This season really is the best Diablo 4 season yet. There's still issues, for sure, right? The game isn't perfect, the game isn't fixed or saved, but a lot of what's remaining is getting addressed in the expansion, right? We have no real endgame to chase right now. That's coming in the expansion. Skill twigs. We're getting massively expanded skill trees in the expansion. Just the preview gives so much to hope for. The game is loaded with fun moments now. Getting a mythic prankster and seeing those 5 mythics drop, that just feels amazing. And not just because gimme, 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 I want all the things and I don't want to work for them. It's just the surprise of having this moment of, holy crap, it just dropped 5 freaking mythics. We just have so many opportunities in the game now for moments of things to happen that are outside of the ordinary. Fun. This is the season of fun. They have added fun into the game, and they're not nerfing out the fun. You know, getting a mythic sanctification outcome. What an incredible surprise. And seeing, like, you know, the rare guy that got a Shaco on top of his Shaco, and it stacks. Fun. I've seen some people who've landed a mythic sanctification on top of a mythic item, and now they just want to, like, they want to make a build just to use this item, because it's a crazy item. This didn't exist before. There was never any reason to get excited about any piece of loot in this game up until this season. Sanctification has been such a positive addition to the game, and so unlike anything we've had yet. People are playing longer because of it. People are creating more builds. It has breathed new life into the otherwise dull endgame itemization of D4. I can't imagine going back to a game state without sanctification, or at least something similar enough to replace it. This really is the first time that I'm going to advocate permanently keeping a power creep feature, because unlike powers, there's not been anything like it before, and I doubt we're gonna enter an age of revolving door seasonal sanctification type features. Now, sanctification aside, even the endgame loop of D4 is in a pretty good state right now. We've got a variety of different activities, and we're not just locked to doing any one of them. Sure, we're lacking some greater purpose or context to the endgame, some big pinnacle challenges, but all that's coming in the expansion with the expanded endgame. At least that's what they're promising. Thanks to the divine gifts of Season 11, which I think is really just like a teaser of a small modicum of what's to come in the expansion. Various activities are rewarding in a variety of ways, so as long as you're just playing the game, you're never really getting hit with any specific material bottlenecks, unless you really go ham with crafting and, you know, you're just crafting and not actually playing the game, right? As long as you are actively engaged in playing the game, and the loop now naturally has you bouncing from activity to activity, you're going to keep up with your materials. Nothing really feels tedious right now or frustrating. Now they've got the changes to tempering and masterworking. And if the secret Uber Lesser Evil fight is any hint at what kind of new endgame content we can expect in the future, that's great. And I'd say go even more challenging than that. The thing with these Ubers is that by the time you've farmed up all the materials to run the fight, it's not a challenge. Now, it's not perfect. No one's saying it's perfect. I have criticisms for sure. It's really annoying that the purified lesser evil parts are basically locked onto your character. I don't mind not trading them. I think they should be account bound, yes, but why can't I put them in my stash? Why can't I share them between my own characters? I figure it's some kind of anti-duping measure, but this is like just extra punitive to the 99.9% of the player base in order to prevent the 0.01 from cheating. Nerfing pit XP, I got mixed feelings there. I personally didn't mind running pits. I know a lot of people hate running pits, but like, I think one of the reasons I didn't mind running pits is just, it's a very simple grind and a groove that you can get into that doesn't drop such an overabundance of stuff that at endgame you're just inundated with item drops. And I do like that now bosses give XP, so it's more pleasurable now for me to do bosses because I know, well, you know, even if I'm not getting any good drops, I'm at least getting XP. But now we're just kind of stuck with lair boss jail for XP farming. Like, that's the best source of XP now. Again, it's great that they give good XP, don't get me wrong, I don't want that taken away, but it just kind of feels silly that running a pit 100, which is vastly more challenging than killing a Torment 4 lair boss, it's the worst way of getting XP. Basically, once you've maxed out all your glyphs, you have no reason to run pits anymore. Now, another gripe I kind of just hinted at, too much stuff drops. Yes, this is a first world problem, but let me clarify, I'm not talking about the gear here. Yes, too much gear drops, but whatever. The loot filter that's coming in the expansion, that's going to fix the problem of too much gear dropping. But the thing that's dropping too much right now, because of the season theme, is activity keys, right? Nightmare dungeons most of all. Like, our inventory to carry these things is too small. And more of these things drop than we can carry, right? You kill a world boss and so many keys drop, you gotta make multiple trips. Now, I'm not asking for a nerf here, but how about instead of so many keys drop, you drop like a fifth of the number of keys and instead replace the other keys with sigil dust so we can craft our own keys. Because we're going to be salvaging all those keys anyway, so just save us the hassle of having to make multiple trips to salvage these keys. And speaking of salvaging keys, maybe it's time to let us salvage infernal compasses and tributes as well. Again, all these things are dropping in such abundance this season, again, which is good because we're able to do so many different activities, but we can't possibly run all of these keys. So, like, we're just forced to drop them on the ground, discard them otherwise, you know, if we can at least salvage them, get something out of it. Runes. We already didn't have enough room to hold all of our runes in the socketable tab. Now the Paladin has added even more runes, so now we have even less room, and it's encroaching even more into our stash space. We really need a dedicated rune inventory or a dedicated rune stash tab. Path of Exile does custom stash tabs really well. We should have a custom stash tab for our runes, a custom stash tab for our activity keys. These would be massive quality of life wins for the game. Apart from the stash search feature, Diablo 4's stash system is so far behind the competitions. Then, leveling up Azmodan's divine gifts. I think something went wrong here. It requires such an obscene amount of Azmodan kills to max these out, which is so disproportionate compared to the other divine gifts that people are resorting to idling on normal difficulty to spam kill him. When this is the most efficient and effective way to level something up, something's wrong. I don't mind long tail progression. I advocate for long tail progression, but there's only 5 progression levels, so the time between any appreciable advancement is so long. And if you don't go out of your way to try to max these out, it's never going to happen through normal play. Then, poison damage. With the defense rebalance, poison balance seems to once again be out of whack. It's just way too much damage. Like, you get poison, you gotta pop all your potions just to barely stay alive. And this was a problem throughout most of the game's life. I think in recent seasons they managed to fix it, but now it's broken again. It doesn't matter how high your poison resistance is, until you're at a toughness level that is way beyond T4 content, poison is going to be just like a huge sudden, oh my god, I gotta use up all my potions. Speaking of T4, it's a bit too easy to reach a point in the game where everything is effortless, apart from pushing the pit, because the pit is effectively infinitely scaling. But I imagine this will be improved with the endgame expansion. I'm guessing they alluded to there being different like skill trees for each activity in the endgame to level up, so I imagine that will be juicing the difficulty and rewards, so I'm not too concerned about this in the long run. Then as for the pit, the number of explosions in the pit can be a bit excessive, especially considering we're often in tight little corridors. On a Paladin, it's not a problem because you're super mobile, but like if you're running some less mobile class, you're basically screwed. Now, that said, all of these are minor complaints in the grand scheme of things. None of these are reasons to quit the season. D4 is otherwise in a great state right now, and I'm really looking forward to the expansion. Especially the endgame stuff. That should keep me playing even longer in the season. Now, moving on to Path of Exile 2 news, the devs were hard at work pumping out hotfixes right before the holidays. Probably the biggest win for the community was nerfing the damage over time from some monster modifiers and ground effects, because it's likely been leading to the most deaths this league than anything else. Another fix was Arcthorin the Architect no longer being affected by map modifiers in the Vault Temple, because sometimes you can get something that basically should become unkillable if you were in like a juiced temple. So another win there for players. Now, probably because of getting the Druid into the game more and more, I'm realizing melee is playing the game on hard mode. It's just like the best way to play melee in PoE 2 is to turn your melee build into a melee at range build. Now, the changes to the Vault Temple since launch, they have improved things, they've made it more rewarding, but it still seems like a lot of people have either just given up on the mechanic entirely or otherwise still have some issues with it. I think part of the issue is that it just takes so long to get to Arcthorin, and then any amount of bad luck can just end your run instantly, and you gotta start the whole thing over. Also, I think it would be nice to have an option to just reset your temple prematurely. If you're not following any external guides, if you're just trying to learn as you go along, you're gonna make mistakes in your layout. And so having to commit to a suboptimal temple can be a little demoralizing. Being able to reset the temple and, starting from scratch, that's punishment enough, right? You're losing what you just did. And I think in general, PoE 2 would benefit tremendously from an in-game glossary of all terms and mechanic explanations. We see this in some other games. I'm fully in favor of keeping players inside the game, not playing with a second monitor open so they can go research stuff externally. And I feel that GGG has been moving in this direction, right? Now that we have like the trade system effectively fully contained in the game, I think is such a wonderful change in addition to the game. Another thing that would be nice in general, and this ties into its theory, anytime you have some goal or mechanic that requires you to kill like all enemies or all of a group of enemies, when there's only like a couple left, it would just have those enemies come to you instead of you having to go to them, because you tend to end up in this situation, whether you're clearing a room in the temple where it's like, oh, I gotta go look in the corners now because there's like one or two monsters that I must have missed, or I open a strong box and there's some monster that like snuck away into another room and I gotta go through some doorways and try to find him. I also think getting a death recap, and I mean, this is something that's been asked for since PoE 1, but I think PoE 2 would really benefit from a death recap of some kind. This is a challenging game, right? And at endgame, visual clarity can become an issue. And unless people are like recording their gameplay footage and like going frame by frame, watching the footage, getting John Madden to do live commentary on figure out exactly what killed you, right? And even then, sometimes when you see what killed you, it's not clear, like, well, what was the damage type there? So it's a challenging game, right? You want to know, how can I improve my defenses? How can I better handle staying alive in these situations? It really helps to know, well, what killed me exactly? Especially because this game is so incredibly punishing towards death, especially at high levels of play. Overall, though, this update continues to be well received, and in fact, Team Ninja, the makers of Nioh 1 and Nioh 2, said PoE 2 is their top game of 2025. Their top three was PoE 2, Elden Ring Night Reign, and Expedition 33. Since its early access launch a year ago, Path of Exile 2 has steadily grown and improved, and I can't wait to see what the big endgame rework is going to be, because once endgame is sorted, I think that's when this game is going to really explode. Also, folks, go claim a free mystery box. You have until January 8th, just log in, you'll get your free mystery box. You can then redeem it, open it in your cosmetics tab in the consumables. It'll be available both in PoE 1 and PoE 2. It's not yet in PoE 1, but anything you unlock in PoE 2 will eventually make its way over to PoE 1. In some no rest for the wicked news, we're a week now into the co-op update open beta, which has been extended to January 5th now. Official release of this patch will be January 22nd, but now you got some extra holiday time to test it out before then. And the co-op seems to be universally well received by the community. So many of us have been waiting for co-op. I think in general, lots of people have either been waiting for launch or for co-op to return to the game. Like, we're already sold on the game. A lot of people just want to experience a clean playthrough of the full campaign in its final perfect state, because all indications are that it's going to be a masterpiece based on what they've already shown and just based on what they've also accomplished in the past with Ori. If you like ARPGs and you like Souls-like games, this is the perfect blend of the two. And what really elevates it is the art direction and the level design. It's got a very unique look, beautifully rendered, and the dev's background in Metroidvania games, right, with Ori, makes their level design top-notch. It's not just randomly generated maps. It's not randomly generated at all. It's bespoke, crafted. It is a world with tons of ways to navigate. It's got hidden secrets to discover. It's got paths that you're going to unlock as you progress through the game, and the world unfolds with interconnections and Z-axis gameplay between regions. There's no other game out there like this. Now, unfortunately, I've been too busy to have a chance to dive into co-op with a partner, but I'm really looking forward to it and trying out the changes, especially to bows. In fact, I really want to dive in and play bows before they get nerfed, because they're going to get nerfed. I hear people saying bows may be overtuned. I fully expected that. It's really tough to balance. Just the power of having a bow being able to attack at range in a game that is so challenging from a combat perspective. But again, that's what this beta testing is for, right? People seem to love the research table, big success there. It's opening up more crafting opportunity while alleviating some pressure on feeling the need to hoard items. Now we can just craft them. That's great. I do imagine we're going to see some folks push for an option to disable friendly fire. How do you folks feel about that? On one hand, I'm very much in favor of allowing people to customize their game experience, right? I believe players should have options. I'm almost universally in favor of that. But I'd be concerned that if you give people this option, everyone's going to just play with friendly fire off. It's going to become the new default when they're balancing the game around the assumption that friendly fire is on, that you can hurt each other. All the boss mechanics, all the weapons, everything, it's all balanced around. You got to be careful to not hurt your friend, because otherwise it's just too easy if everyone is constantly blasting and shooting effects and, oh, my friend's in melee, I'm going to shoot a fireball in there, it doesn't matter. And for anyone holding off on this one because it's early access, this is an exceptionally polished early access. It's early access in that the entire contents of the game are not in the game yet, but it really feels more like a demo, like an extensive demo that can deliver hours and hours and hours of gameplay. But it doesn't feel early access in the way, like, I've played a lot of jank early access games, and nothing against them, but like this one is just so well polished. They're still making some pretty significant iterations on systems. That's one of the reasons of the early access, is wanting to get the feedback from players and adjusting things in order to make the game as good as it can be. Then some Titan Quest 2 news. The devs have already announced Chapter 3, The Arcadian Plains. No release date other than soon, but these guys have been putting out content pretty consistently and relatively quickly since early access launch, so I imagine it really will be soon. In Chapter 3, we're going to visit Mount Olympus, meet an Olympian, and fight a new enemy type, centaurs. There's going to be a new biome and a new city. And in some very brief Grim Dawn news, as we wait for the next expansion, final expansion, which will hopefully release in 2026, after being pushed back year after year after year, we learned from the devs that Grim Dawn 2 is entering pre-production in 2026. The devs already have an RTS and a survival game in the pipeline, so we know that Grim Dawn 2 won't be coming soon, but hey, it's just great to know that they're already going to be getting started on it. Now folks, do be sure to have checked out last week's video to find out why I was wrong about Season 11 of Diablo 4. And if you're playing the season, check out my website riker.com, where I got all kinds of guides for anything you need about Season 11. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.